We have the keys. It feels like I'm learning how to swim. My phone works now, so my French number works, and it feels like this perfect severing. We have the keys to my first apartment in Paris. This is kind of crazy. I don't know. I genuinely didn't think I was gonna find a place. Like the last time I was here, I was just stressed, so stressed. Yeah, I think it hasn't sunk in yet. So, but yes, I am. It's actually nuts. I decided I wanted to live in Paris in February, and what are we? It's May. And I just got the keys to my apartment. Crazy. It's very empty at the moment. Definitely doesn't feel like mine yet. But I'm also running off basically no sleep, a lot of logistics and paperwork. It's crazy hot. Yeah, so I checked in. I don't know why I'm saying checking in. It's really weird that this is my own place. I think it hasn't like settled in because it's just an empty space. But yeah, I think I need coffee and I'm gonna write. I was doing morning pages on the Eurostar. I was also doing a project. The theme is animalism or animalic. I was working on that and some poetry for a pamphlet that I'm submitting, and then also this weekend I have a short story competition. So yeah, I have a lot to write and a lot of work to do. So I might pop out and get like some soap and a couple basics I need today, but I don't really feel like unpacking, to be honest. But yeah, that's what's up. But even though I'm very happy. I'm very happy. I'm very happy. A complete nightmare with setting up the electricity. We needed the code to another staircase, but I went to Monoprix and I got myself a coffee machine and all the little house bits, and I was thinking little Lydia would be screaming.
avait un petit coffret.
Good morning from Paris. Today I am sorting my French bank account. Yesterday I sorted my French number out. Next week is the Wi-Fi. Yesterday morning I woke up and there was no electricity, which would be fine except for my toilet wouldn't flush because for some reason my toilet is one of those like electric flushes. And I was like, I cannot deal with that. So I had a whole stressful nightmare situation. But now I have a French number. And I changed my number, and I was actually thinking about, because you have to go through your contacts and let each contact know which number you've changed or whatever. And I was like, I kind of like this complete severing new chapter. And I think getting a new number was, it felt very symbolic. Maybe I'm just being incredibly poetic and insufferable about it because I'm still sleep deprived. I managed to get a good night's sleep finally yesterday. I went to, and I'll insert the footage, I went to this exhibition, Onze Buge. It was a poetry, music, there was improv acting, a lot of fire, which is crazy for the heat wave. But I went to that last night, and hopefully I should write some poetry inspired by that. I've been bringing Combo's illuminations around with me because this is my equivalent of like Patti Smith's move to New York. So I've been bringing this with me even if I just sit and I'd read like one line. So for example, I was reading Fête d'hiver, Winter Festival. Les cascades sont derrière les huttes d'opéra comique. The waterfall echoes behind comic opera huts, and one of my poetry kind of, I guess, packets, collections is Welcome to the Circus, and I do keep passing the circus shop. There seem to be a lot of circus shops in Paris. So the idea of comic and comedy, absurdism, circus, very relevant and topical. But I have a bunch of work to do because tomorrow I have a poetry competition deadline and today's Friday. And then the next day, Sunday, I have a short fiction prize deadline. I've got to do my tax report. It's kind of like, it's very scary. It feels like I'm learning how to swim. But yeah. This is what I'm wearing today. Also, I've unpacked a bit last night, so I have a wardrobe. And these are the books. It's so funny, in all my like Airbnb videos, I'm like, these are all the books I brought, and it's like, these are all the books I brought, but they're actually on my floor and staying. There are so many reasons I love Paris. I went to get coffee this morning from a little stand. It turned out to be a magazine stand, and I was talking to him about my work in magazines. And then he gave me a post-it note with a poetry event on it to have a look, and to have a look at their magazine curator. I was just getting coffee. I feel like it's symbolic that I just finished my notebook today. I'm like 3 days into living in Paris, and so I bought a new one, and I bought red because I'm not afraid of colour anymore, and I've been drafting my story. I've been drafting my story for my short story competition, and my kind of concept is taxidermy moths, and basically it's inspired by a news story I heard on the radio when I was driving back from a tutorial a few months ago. This funeral director who hid the bodies, he didn't actually cremate them, and I'm thinking about the idea of death, corridors of existence, so horizontal corridors, so kind of like Inception but the other way around, and I'm going through all the processes of the moth taxidermy stage, but the bar I was writing at has closed because of the football, so that is a bit of a challenge. I realize I need to write adjacent to life, even when I'm writing about death, which I think is an interesting dichotomy, and perhaps I will turn that into a poem. I feel like I turn my feelings into poems, and my stories are more of a narrative, but this one I've actually been trying to put out. Even though they want conciseness and brevity, I still need to know, at least in my head, a kind of depth of the characters. Good morning from my apartment in Paris. It's Sunday and today is the deadline for a short story competition that I'm entering. I wrote a good amount last night and then I hit a wall. It was the PSG Arsenal game and there were fireworks and everything going on, and I just couldn't really work. I had a friend text me like, what do you do when you hit writer's block? And I said that I do kind of the mundane thoughtless tasks, because usually, I don't know, that my brain's just less occupied and I can think of ideas then. So I did a bit more in my room because I realized it just doesn't feel like home yet. I know I've barely been here a week. It's Sunday, I moved on Wednesday. But this is what I actually did. I definitely need to pick a table off the side of the road. But I have a little arrangement going on, so I have some magazines and I'm hoping to collect some more, but I'm including the magazines that I've been published in, which is exciting. This is a bag from one of the first vintage stores I went to in Paris, and some like postcard photos. This was a poetry event I went to. This is all my jewelry. This is actually a cake stand. It's a mirror cake stand. My mum was giving it away and I was like, I am gonna cop that a while ago. So glad I did. I have my little pots of lip products. I love a glass jar. I mean, the story I'm writing is about taxidermy. Maybe I should start taxidermying, or maybe that would be a bit weird. And these were all the books that I could bring with me. And I did get a new notebook yesterday, but I also have this book which I have yet to fill, and I'm thinking I'm gonna do this book for just the poems that I'm performing, because it's just a bit nicer. I don't know what to do with this book. I really fuddled myself with buying a nice book. I don't really like too nice books. This is my wardrobe situation. I put just like some little cards, my glasses, and I organized my bathroom. So that's what I did. And it's just gone 10 AM. I was hoping to be left by 10 AM. I went to a co-working space yesterday, which was ideal for working, because I didn't feel guilty about having my laptop. So like, I guess that's the whole point. And I think I might head back there today. I have bought some coffee, but I have not got a mug. So again, another day where I'm gonna have to buy coffee out, but the coffee here is so cheap compared to London, so that's fine. And my phone works now, so my French number works, and it feels like this perfect severing of old into new, and it's scary, and there's a lot of things that I've been trying to sort out, but today I'm hoping to just focus on one thing at a time, and that thing is my short story. So I will keep you updated. I'm on my way to a cafe that was recommended by a friend that I've met. It's so much cooler today, it's so nice. And I'm hoping that they will allow me with my laptop because I really need to finish this story. So that cafe said no to my laptop, of course, because it's a Sunday, so I'm gonna try another. I don't normally plan out my stories, but this one I really have. My problem is I'm using too much speech to carry the narrative. It's very hard to make something concise and brief, and I think that is my current challenge. I'm making my first coffee. It's about to boil over. When I was at university, after about 2 years, I just completely crashed with my mental physical health, and my tutors said to go travel, go be 21 for, I don't know, a year. So I booked a one-way ticket to Italy, and that was kind of the start of me kind of discovering traveling and running away from my problems. I did realize that you cannot run from your problems, you merely move them to a new place, but I do feel, and I do very much believe, that being in the wrong place, the wrong city, can be so detrimental if you struggle with mental health. Anyway, I bought I believe it's called a Belletti, on my first day here. It's really, really hot. Because one of the things I really remember about that trip is I was in Bologna and I was staying with some uni students there, and every morning, I was staying there for a few days, every morning they would make this communal Belletti of coffee for the house. This sounds so silly and mundane, but for me, it symbolizes my whole trip. And they had a tin of biscuits, and I love the fact that Italians eat biscuits like cookies for breakfast. It's crazy. And they would pass around this Belletti, and we'd each have a little espresso shot. So I remember my first morning, I was au pairing there. The mum came down and she was like, oh, would you like a coffee? Like, what kind of coffee would you like? Pick whatever mug. And she opened this drawer of mugs. I obviously picked just like a normal mug. And she poured the coffee from the machine, and it was like this tiny amount because I wasn't used to the fact that it was always espresso. So I decided that when I moved here, I would buy this as a little routine every morning to make myself coffee. Partly to save money as well. Now the only problem is I do not yet own a mug. I've had a look in the cupboards and I cannot find anything. So in lieu of a mug, my first coffee in my apartment will be in this lovely mint green water bottle, which I'm hoping is heat safe. This is the coffee. I don't want to spill it on me. It's a bit weak because I just added a spoonful of coffee beans and a whole thing of water. So it's kind of Americano, but I'm learning. That's the story of the Belletti and my kind of empty little kitchen. I'm gonna go meet some people. We made an Instagram group chat. I'm gonna go meet some people at Jardin de Tuileries this evening. I sent my story to my mum and she critiqued it. I rarely ever send my writing. I rarely share my writing with my mum, she's also a writer. She works in copywriting, and I think in another life she would have been a novelist, you know. And she completely slated my whole work, and I kind of agree. So I'm giving myself the deadline of, it's now 4:44. It's now, no, c'est 5 heures moins quart. Numbers and timings are really difficult for me. And so I'm gonna give myself until 6, jusqu'à 6 heures. So an hour and a bit to finish the edits for this story, submit. Because I think anything I leave to do late this evening, I'm just not going to be happy with. So I will keep you updated, and I have my mint green bottle of coffee. It's probably way too hot to drink. Je peux parler avec une personne, s'il vous plaît? I'm trying to write a substack article, but I'm scared it's going to turn into a think piece, and I told myself I would never do think pieces. But I feel like this could gain traction because it's all about moving abroad when you're younger, doing everything in another language. Look up there, we could get that. If you squint, it's leopard print.
Yeah, but the few young people that will be there, they're like, it's Le Saint-Denis, and there's nothing there.
Every single time a guy is, every time I'm on a date, it's always like looking at my ring.
But the thing is, I feel like it's a very... I just took myself to lunch because I realized I haven't eaten like a proper meal in a long time. And the Wi-Fi is still not fixed. Hopefully it will be fixed at some point tomorrow morning. So I'm going to try and find a cafe to work in because I desperately need to get some work. My tactic so far has been sticking around the area where I'm kind of living, so I get to know it. I'm not going to the same place more than twice, even if I find a good spot, and then I will decide which places to become a regular at. I just wrote about 2,000 to 2,500 words for my substack, and I'm going to take a little pause from it and go and edit, I think. There is a park around the corner, and I really need to finish Dostoevsky Devils that I'm reading, so I think perhaps that will be next. and bathe in it as it brushes the roads and slick red rain underground bars bright red reverberate. I'm practicing a poem and waiting for the Wi-Fi man to come while my coffee boils over, and I feel that is the poem. And I'm wondering if I would want to be insipid like Pink, because I often feel like I'm too much, but I actually don't think I would want to be insipid. I think that's one of my biggest fears. But good morning. Today I'm going to install my shower curtain. I'm going to write some more. I'm writing a short story called, the working title is Campfire Castaways, which sounds like some kind of awful romantic-y cringe fest. I still don't have a mug. I'm gonna try and write a minimum of 2,500 words a day because I wrote that yesterday and it was really doable. It was within 2 hours. I do feel like writing fiction is hard. We went to Canal Saint-Martin and one's a fashion director, one's a creative director, and we were talking about, maybe I should let this cool. We were talking about works of fiction and the idea of the suffering artist, because I was talking about my dating life. And we were saying that you don't need to suffer to make good art. Obviously, you don't need to suffer to make good art. However, I feel like I kind of turn a lot of my suffering into art, and I kind of sometimes I think when you've been through a lot you go, what would I be without my suffering? Because obviously this shaped you, but that's a double-edged sword, because if this hadn't shaped me, then would I be able to write interesting art? And I remember reading Patti Smith's Devotion and I realized that I prefer her memoir work, so her stuff about her life, than the works of more fiction. And then you kind of get onto the question of, is anything a true work of fiction? Because surely some characters are based on reality, and then you get kind of like naive art and all the subconscious, etc, etc. And then we were thinking about, one of the girls mentioned something which I very much agreed with, that fiction is more kind of like unbelievable than real life. I was telling my parents the story around the kitchen table of my motorbike accident in Vietnam, and every time I tell that story people don't believe me. They're like, that's not true, that didn't happen, that's you're making it up. And I'm like, I actually couldn't. Like the works of complete kind of fiction that I've come up with, and usually that even those are inspired by a news headline or something I see, or a sign or a poster. There's always something prompting it. Are, I would argue, more kind of like real, believable, boring, ordinary than the works that I write, kind of a lot more based off people, life experience, etc, etc. This story I'm working on, 3 of the characters are based on real people, and then others are not based on real people. And I think that's kind of how I work best. If I start from some story that happened that was kind of slightly unbelievable and a bit crazy, but there was an interesting character, I'll take that and run with it. But I think I often need that in order to write a story. And I think the story I was writing the other day, the reason I was struggling so much was because I had not met any of my characters. And so I think one of the big things I hope to learn on my writing course is how to meet my characters, my fictional characters. I went into a record store where you can actually put vinyls on play and put headphones on and vibe, which is a really cool concept. I mean, it obviously makes so much sense. I've never seen that before, and I'm just walking around. I managed to grab a mug so I can have coffee. I had to go to the bank. A colour.
I mean, the biggest bag we have up here is that one.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's kind of a washed brown. I do quite. Yeah. See, my current bag. I'm reading Louise Gluck in French today. I'm trying to transcribe it. And this is my outfit. I'm in Le Marais and I went into a fashion, like a clothing store, because I realised I forgot that I live in Paris for a moment, and I was just browsing, and the girl who works there is a creative art director, and we were talking about magazine collaborations, and we're going to go to some events together. We just had a really nice conversation. She was Irish. I've met so many Irish people. I love hearing the Irish accent. Yeah, I think we're going to go to an event together on Monday at the Dissident Salon, which is very cool. I'm trying to go to more events now that I've sorted a lot of the admin.